eternity. Rising, wings ignite, burning through the darkest night. With every step I claim my throne. This journey led me back home.
Hey, Phoenixes are rising. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Phoenix's Rising Academy. I'm Coach T, and your blessings are in your ashes. I've been mulling this over for quite some time, and I have been posting about it, but I'm going to keep posting until my LGBTQ listeners get it and understand, because it's coming up a lot now about how you can be abused by other women loving women, or really they don't love women, they love to control women. So I want to talk about something that is not often discussed in spiritual healing spaces. And that's how cluster B personalities, particularly narcissistic, sociopathic, and borderline individuals, can function as energetic predators. And not just any predators. I'm talking about incubi, succubi, astral manipulators who seek to bind themselves to your divine destiny through a false empathy, spiritual disguise, and ritual manipulation. I think the other term for it is called destiny swapping. Cluster B predators often pick their targets. This isn't random, it's spiritual hunting. Empaths, especially Black lesbians and trans women, are particularly vulnerable due to societal invisibility and underrepresentation. When you're targeted, it often looks like help, but it's really a setup, an energetic contract designed to extract your gifts while punishing your sovereignty. Olga and Christy, two real women in my life at separate times in my life, not far between the other. One was not far between the other. Two different timelines, same demonic archetype. Let's start with Olga. Olga was watching from the sidelines, waiting for me to fall. She targeted me the moment I became homeless. Her offer to be my white knight, to provide me shelter, was a spiritual trap. She identified as trans and lesbian, but her intentions were racist, fetishistic, and predatory. She saw Black women especially as targets to be punished and manipulated and dominated because she couldn't handle rejection from the past. While she was in high school, I guess some Black kids made fun of her, though she wouldn't go into specifics, of course. And she's held that grudge. And it's not just Black women, it's also children. Yeah, Olga was a pedophile. She wasn't offering me help to get off the streets and not become homeless. She was offering a spiritual debt, one I never agreed to, one that I energetically refused as after a month of living with her. And that refusal made her enraged. It was a narcissistic wound. And when she couldn't feed off of me, she discarded me to teach me a lesson. Not only that, but somebody told her that I would come begging her back in 6 months. And then when that never happened, It felt like she was sitting and sending a whole army after me. Now, Christy. Christy came as the mirror opposite. Covert, masked in kindness that I didn't ask for. She tried to insert herself into my life. And the way that she tried to do that was to offer shelter. Now, she would often appear whenever I went to work. Suddenly she'd come out of her hotel room and I'm going down the same side that I'm supposed to, because my work is 5 minutes away, like literally across the street on that side of the street. When I would turn, I would cross, go to the trolley station, and there's my work. And it never, ever, ever failed. And it was so annoying. And finally, reluctantly, because I'm like, why do I have to rearrange my natural rhythm and go on the opposite side away from my job and then have to go back around? I mean, it wasn't a big deal, really. It's a huge parking lot. And so I ended up, being in the middle of the street and trying not to give her eye contacts. Right? Because every time there she would be, whenever I went to work, initiating contact I never asked for, trying to force herself into my story like a director who cast herself in a lead role. I never wrote for her, but she was writing for me. She projected this narrative. I told my boyfriend if there was anyone I wanted to help, it was you. But I never asked for help from a human, let alone a succubi. I never asked for help from this woman that I didn't know, who never introduced me to anybody in her family until the rejection was solidified. And then she sent family members after me to try and coerce me and bully me into not having relationships and having people over into my hotel room that I'm paying for. With her, she thought that me being a black saw stud with a good security job paying $25 an hour, that I would be open or passive or not say anything, I guess, to her offering to house me when I was already housed. And she couldn't afford, without her boyfriend that she lived with there and who was in construction, paycheck. I was stable, I was working, I was thriving on my own terms with the help of the Most High. So the help she was offering was a bait and switch to energetically bind me into a karmic loop that benefited her delusions of being able to suck me dry of my finances and basically turn me out. I'm clairaudient, amongst other things. So, spiritual and psychological layers of this is this cluster B, or these cluster B entities, often operate through energetic triangulation and forced intimacy. They knew that I was going to reject them, and they planned, they strategized how they were going to leap over that rejection, if not just ignore that I had set a boundary. And that's projecting on to somebody else your will. God did not have me going in that direction. Actually, God revealed her, and one time I saw her, I was coming back, and she was pretending not to see me. And I looked out over at her, and she tried to give me like this rage look, or this whatever look. I don't even know what that is. She had mimicked it from another lady that I guess ended up being her sister. And she made me throw up in my mouth. Even so, she knew I did not like her. Right? But she made giving me her phone number, you know? And I was in a good place, a very, very good place, just getting up off the street, getting up off a van. I could support myself. I could support myself. I had I had a savings and I had rent every month. You know how expensive motels are. And I was able to drop bands for the whole entire month and not think about it. And pay my storage and whatever little, phone things that I had. I kept it to a bare little minimum, you know? Kept it to a bare minimum. So, this forced intimacy, right? She was offering, they both were offering to help me as a way to insert themselves into my spiritual path. There's different ways in the Bible. It talks about they are not uh, they are those who say that they are Jews, but they are not, right? Meaning that they're not us, right? They're not they're not black people. They're not Hebrew. Okay, wouldn't be considered Hebrew. They grafted themselves in, and there's different ways that you can graft yourself in. And these people think that if I look at you, that your eyes are a doorway to your soul, and so you've given me permission by looking at me. Others think that if I offer you something, you have to take it, or I can just rely on the fact that I offered this to you, and that means that we're friends. And it doesn't at all. It doesn't mean that at all. You see, but when you're dealing with cluster B personalities, their heads, it doesn't work very well, right? And so because I rejected these two women, they punished the boundaries that I had. They punished my being obedient to the Most High God. And they did this by obsessing over me, stalking, and doing witchcraft and engaging in astral attacks. If you've read, I believe it's John Ramirez, the warlock from, what was it, New York or Chicago, or the East Coast, and now he has his own church, and he's still the same way. You could tell that he is rife with the effects of that witchcraft that he did. And unfortunately, just to make a note, just because you chain over to Christianity doesn't mean, because Jesus said, Yeshua said, "You brood of vipers, who warned you of the coming?" Did he not? Okay. So, but he talks about it in his book. I think it's chapter 10 or 11, that he talks about it in his book, about that, how he was using astral projecting to get information on his targets so that they could win. So I was stalked for 10 years for the one, and for 6-7 years for the other one, simply because I said no. So lessons for empaths. Number 1, no is sacred. You don't owe anyone access to your healing, your space, or your life story. You don't. Say no and walk away. It's a complete sentence. And people think, "Oh, I'm being rude," because that's what you're told. That's what I was told. I was told I was rude for not talking to anybody. I was told when I moved out of Sacramento to San Diego, I was told, "Oh, you're being rude. You're being this, you're being that." Well, you're being rude by constantly devising new schemes and strategies to get into my energy, to block me from having a life by myself. There is something weird that is going on, and it's not just with heterosexuals. It is also with those who are bisexual, trans, sexual, and lesbian and gay. It's a spirit, right? So, number 2, spiritual discernment. will reveal the difference between divine alignment and demonic contracts. What these people, it could, with the first lady, with Olga, it could have been a divine contract, right? And I just actually was asking the Most High about that the other day, because that was actually her time. Like, I don't know what happened, because I'm like, this person is evil. So you mean to tell me you were going to bless, or the universe was going to bless with my presence, you know, was going to bless a pedophile, a racist, a gang member, a Loraza, or Norteños, or Santa Muerte, whatever they were calling themselves. They always wore red, black, and white. Um, Gang member, and they would traumatize those in San Diego, or excuse me, in Sacramento. But it ran through all California. And actually, because if you were Latino, it was a whole network, which is what, as I'm doing this podcast, is what President Trump has been dismantling. Because he said at the beginning, you guys all called him a racist, so to minimize the concern. He said that they've organized themselves as the mafia, and they have. I can vouch for that. So, yeah. Number 2, spiritual discernment will reveal the difference between divine alignment and demonic contracts. Both of these women had demonic contracts. Like I said, for the first one, it was, he was still going to bless this person after, and that's mind boggling to me. But I was like, you were holding me back, because when I lived with her, she was going to get her ass beat. I don't don't care. Transformational coach or not, you're not going to spit on me and say racist things to me, and then call me Hitler because I'm not for illegal immigration, which is what she did. And this was an Italian or white Puerto Rican identity snatcher. The other one, Christy couldn't even support herself, let alone support somebody like me. I could have supported both her and her husband on my salary. You see what I'm saying? Because he was struggling because of her being of energy vampire, right? And so she tried, and it's bizarre and it's mind-boggling as a lesbian. It's like, well, here I am, I'm doing good, and I opened the door just a tiny bit after coming off the streets of 3 years, like that felt like 6. And I opened the door, and she wanted to take that love that I had built inside of me for my actual kin. And like this woman, and just like the first one, when you reject them and you say no as a complete sentence, even though you still should walk away. That's why I tell the stories that I tell, and because I've lived them, and these are real actions. And they keep trying to say, that you have some, I know that they're going to say, oh, you're crazy. Why would anybody do that? Nobody's saying that anymore. Nobody's saying that anymore. And I'm grateful that the truth is coming out, though it feels a little bit delayed, to be honest, Okay, so number 3. Be mindful of unrequested offers. Okay, so again, with the succubi, the first one I asked if, hey, I need help. I don't want to be on the streets. I'd been on the streets for 3 days. And, then Sacramento, you had your vigilantes, and it was really just people getting together for a chance to, button the other people's business and have some kind of power over them. Now, I'm not saying, because a lot of the homeless people were sloppy. A lot of them were chronic homeless people. And me, I had no plans of staying on there. I thought I was going to die on the streets. But I still, instead of going and drinking and drugging and whatever, and which would have led to somebody trying to pimp me out, or my fur babies out, because that's the type of disgusting, toxic shit that was in Sacramento and San Diego, actually. You get the perverts when there's such a demonic foothold in an area because of the witchcraft from the Latino gangs, especially because that's all they do is witchcraft. They do witchcraft to take over neighborhoods, businesses. They'll do a witchcraft ritual, and then go and send people out to damage that property. And I've seen that. I took a picture of the aftermath, but I saw them coming, you know. in flesh. So yeah, so so I didn't offer, or I didn't ask Christy for help. You know, she said if someone volunteers to help you without knowing you, ask who sent them, right? Or who sent you. It's like I don't even know you, and I didn't know this woman. And her husband, she even told me, she goes, well, my husband said, well, you don't know her, and and she goes, I don't care, I'll get to know you as we go, and I'm like, well, but we're not. And see, the crazy thing is that we were not even in a relationship like that. We weren't even in a relationship. I was just being cordial, and I was feeling her energy, and so I was on the lookout, not trying to be with anybody. I had a business to run, and the business I was looking forward to building my empire. And now I'm three years later, and these guys are still trying. What you'll find with cluster B personalities is the reason why they hover and the reason why they stalk and they become obsessed with you is because they didn't get to finish what they started. And that tension keeps building up in them. I have somebody who keeps stalking me now, and I do coaching online, and they get on those coaching sessions, or they get on that website, and because they know that they can't be seen, right? um they'll try and friend me or whatever. You see what I'm saying? It's really weird, but hey, I'm saying 10 toes down. So number 4, the last one: if the energy doesn't match the words, believe the energy. That's the spell breaking truth. Okay. So like when these guys were saying, and I was in desperate need in the first place, in the first situation. And then the second, I was like, oh, it didn't make sense. And I followed what God told me after learning. And I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. Right. I can't, I can't rely on people in this environment because it's so toxic. And everything is an exchange, because when you're practicing witchcraft and you're making sacrifices to these demonic egregors, you're making sacrifices. You got to exchange for Santa Muerte. You got to exchange. They don't want to come right out and say it. You got to be his blood for blood. You know what I mean? If you want riches, you got to sacrifice your child. You got to sacrifice your, somebody that you love a lot. If you want to stay rich and famous, if you want to stay, or if you want to get to that point, and I had no desire. I had been rocking with the Most High for a minute. So in closing, Phoenixes, protect your energy. Okay? These people aren't just mentally ill. They're character disturbed, and many are spiritually weaponizing your energy. They're weaponizing your energy. They're weaponizing your consciousness. They're weaponizing your vulnerability. And that's why a lot of people are hurting right now, because it's like, okay, well, every time I'm vulnerable, these guys come in. And they try and take what little I got. And I've had that happen. I didn't have a lot, and they stole from me again. I've had the same certain group steal from me on 3 different occasions, and then try and hide money from me, as if I'm in a relationship with the whole entire Borg unit, So yeah, but yeah, they'll weaponize it. So you have to keep your energy to yourself. And you have to be able to discern discern the spirit, because they enter through perceived weakness, but stay by feeding, to feed off of your light, right? So they come in, and then they never want to leave, because they're taking possession over your territory, which is your body, your mind, your blessings, right? You are not crazy for rejecting false elk. right? For a lot, when I was on the streets, this is what I learned with false help and learned helplessness, is because with these nonprofits, these people are chronically homeless because it's like once they realize that, because some of them have mental illnesses too. So once they realize, it's like, oh crap, I can get free clothes, free books, free food. I can get, if I go to this one, I can get, a breakfast. If I go to this one, I can get a lunch. If there's none open during the week, I could stack up and get a little bit of food here or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So why would I? Why, you know what I mean? Why would I want to go to the craziness? You know? So it's like they're helping you to stay on the streets. They're helping you to get through the night. Like that's literally their nonprofits aren't trying to help you. Even transitional housing isn't there to help you once you get in. Some, because you have people who like to abuse their power. So, and also remember that you're not mean for blocking energetic predators. You are sovereign. If this resonated with you, please visit www.phoenixesrisingacademy.com, where you can find meditations, affirmations, journals, bundles, or individuals. You can find just some good old positive affirmation music, affirming who you are, affirming what you've went through. All right? Please like, subscribe, and share. Ring that bell so you can become a part of our community. And remember, from the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead. This is Coach T, and I love you.